Hey everyone, this is Mikel Fair from FilmFestivalCircuit.com, and today I'm going to explain the technical scorecard, which is something that we use for all film and video submissions. Of course, this video has nothing to do with screenplays, so don't worry. This particular technical scorecard is for films only. Every submission that is submitted to our film festivals, that is a film or a video, has three different types of scorecards that are assigned. One, a marketing scorecard. Two, a technical scorecard, and three, a creative scorecard. The way we break that down is you get one marketing scorecard, one technical scorecard, and three creative scorecards. Each of these 5 scorecards are worth 20 points apiece. The goal is to score perfect 20 on each of them, and the maximum score you can possibly achieve is 100. This particular video is about the technical scorecard. Check the description. We'll have a link in there for you so you can check out the explanation for the marketing scorecard and the creative scorecard. But this one's all technical. Regardless of the genre of your film or video, we just have some basic guidelines that we follow to make sure that if your film is selected, that it's a good screening experience for the audience in a theater environment. We screen our film festivals live, and it's really important that there are certain problems that don't pop up that we see all the time. That's why we created this technical scorecard based on the experience of many years doing film festivals and some of the same common problems that we see over and over. The judges that are tasked with creating technical scorecards have experience in this area, usually in post-production or editing. It's someone who knows what they're looking at, knows what they're watching, okay? So don't feel like you just have some interns that are just in the background, just kind of skimming around and checking your film here and there. No, this is front to back. That's why we pay our judges, and that's part of what your submission fee is used for, is to make sure that we spend the time to truly evaluate your submission. On screen, you're going to see what it looks like from the back end if you are the technical judge on this film, and this is what it looks like on your screen. And you can see some basic information about the submission, like the synopsis and the tagline and some other things, what the duration of it is. And then you're going to see a button down at the bottom that says Start Technical Scorecard. Let's go there. So after I click on Start Technical Scorecard, you're going to see this list of questions. Number 1, the dialogue in this film or video is clear and easy to understand what is being spoken. It's a true or false question. Can we hear it all? Obviously, if there's no dialogue in the film at all, we select true because there's no issue with dialogue that we can detect. The audience is going to have a really hard time understanding your story if some of the words are really hard to hear. So that's why we have this selection. Number 2, the music in this film or video has a well-balanced volume and does not drown out dialogue or distract from the viewing experience. True or false? What we'll see a lot of times is that music can be treated sometimes as an afterthought. Or maybe if the person who's editing is just kind of throwing some songs in there, throwing some clips in there, they may be just editing the whole film using some cheap earbuds or something and may have no real context or background in audio to know or realize that a piece of music might be blaring over other things going on in the film, too loud for words. The EQ work wasn't done, the volume work wasn't done to make sure that we could hear both the music and what's being spoken at the same time. Most people get this right that are pretty serious in this industry about making a good product, but we do see this a lot. So this is something that we do need to mark and let people know. Number 3, this film or video is clear of any overpowering sound effects, music / distorted, clipped dialogue, or obvious volume errors. I know that the wording is kind of weird on that, but this is what we're talking about. Overpowering sound effects. Man, we see this in horror films a lot. Where you'll hear a gunshot that just redlines. It just instead of sounding like a shot, it just sounds like distortion. Music being distorted can be a problem as well. What people don't understand is if you have the track soloed and you play the music, it's at a good volume. But then if you have a sound effect and dialogue on the other 2 tracks, the 3 of them in combination can sometimes clip, go into the red, make it distorted, be too much volume for that 1 second. That's what we're looking for, something that jumps out at you that's very, very obvious and being distorted. And clip dialogue, usually you hear clip dialogue when there's a lot of screaming, like in a horror film or something, or if you have a lot of people laughing at a joke or something, and maybe the sound person wasn't ready for the big laugh or the big outburst, and you hear distortion. Those can be very negative and really kind of take you out of the viewing experience. So if we see those, then we'll mark this one false. All right, the next one. This film or video is clear of any media offline errors, missing footage, or obvious pixelation or render errors. So this is purely a technical thing that happened, something happened wrong in the edit. It's not something that was a creative choice by the filmmaker. For example, I'll show you, if you look at this timeline, this is just DaVinci Resolve. It's a simple editing program. I just threw 4 still photos on the timeline to show you what it looks like. And if I happen to rename a photo or move a photo or delete it, then this next screen shows you that you get this media offline error. Sometimes we actually get films that have a media offline error in them. And you might be thinking to yourself, you render it and you don't want to watch every second of your film again. And sometimes you just don't realize that a file may have moved or gotten renamed for some reason. And you have this screen that flashes up that literally says media offline. So it's very rare, but we do see it sometimes. And that's also how you know the judges are watching every second of your film, because if there's a media offline, that's their job to catch it, right? These next 2 questions are about the introduction and the conclusion of your film. The introduction can be a problem when there's so many like company logos and long intro things in the beginning that it takes forever for your movie to start. Bad viewing experience. We only screen short films, so don't pretend like you're some major release that has to have, Paramount and Scott Free and, the WB and like a million logos at the front. Okay, you're wasting everybody's time. 60 seconds or less. This usually isn't a problem for short films. It's very rare that I see someone actually get deducted for this. Now, the last question is about your final credits. And I do see this a lot. I have seen people turn in 4-minute films that have 2.5 minutes of credits, and that's ridiculous. I totally understand where you're going with this. You want to give credit to everyone that was in your film. That's obvious. The problem is, and if you read, I have a link to an article that talks about the final cut versus the festival cut. If you look at that final cut versus festival cut article that I wrote, a very popular article, it tells you about the type of film cut that you want to send to the festival for viewing at a festival versus the one that you sit down with your cast and crew, right? When you're with your cast and crew, it's like you sit down, it's like your movie's the only one being shown, you've rented the theater for 2 hours, the movie's 17 minutes long, and you want to put credits down there for everybody who was involved in the film, everybody who made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, everybody who volunteered a location, everybody you rented a piece of equipment from, and you can let it crawl as slow as you want, and everybody's going to sit back and laugh, and a million outtakes and all that stuff at the end. Different environment when you're at a film festival. The pacing is fast, okay? We can't have films just lingering on, just scrolling long credits for greater than 60 seconds. We just don't do it. You say, so, well, Michael, that's not fair. Well, you know what? If you have 20 films that have 2 minutes of credits on there, guess what? If they all reduced to 1 minute of credits, we'd have 20 more minutes of films to show. That's how we can show more films in our theaters, by making sure that our programs are lean and don't have a lot of extra fat. And we also give more filmmakers an opportunity by doing that. So please keep the credits of your film to 60 seconds or less. Is that going to mean that you don't get in the festival because your credits are 72 seconds? No, but you do lose 2 points in this regard if that's the cut that you turn in. So be aware of that before you submit. So the last question here is questions mainly about subtitles. If your film is in English and doesn't require subtitles, then you just automatically get the 2 points for this. This really only applies to some of the foreign films that we get where it has subtitles or where there's foreign language in the film, and it's either too small to read or it's too fast or it's so off sync that it's throwing you off. You're like, wait a minute, she didn't say that. Or she's talking and there's nothing on the screen, then text is appearing after. We see it all, trust me. Not a lot of subtitle errors, but we do put this section in there if you do have a problem with your subtitles. Now, some people will subtitle their film if they had a really difficult time getting the right dialogue mix. Remember one of those first questions that I talked about, maybe where you didn't have the best audio situation when you were recording, so you wanted to subtitle your film so that people could understand your film. Yes, you might lose a couple of points for not having the best audio for your dialogue, or people are missing words audio-wise. But a quick solution to that without spending a whole lot of money in post is to create subtitles. So if you do have subtitles, we will apply these last few checkboxes to your particular film. So make sure that your subtitles are very, very easy to read. If possible, I'd put your subtitles in the black area at the bottom, just depending on how your film is framed, or just make sure that they stay on screen long enough for someone to actually read them. And that's all we're looking for in that experience is we want people to catch every word of your film. So we truly get to understand what your art is all about. And that wraps it up for how the scorecards are calculated. We are very transparent about our process. We want you to score a 20. It's very rare that I get a film that just gets points deducted all over the place on a technical scorecard. You should be knocking this one out of the park. Keep your credits tight, keep your words clear, make sure your music has balance, test your film on a few different sources to make sure that you can hear everything. It's a good experience, and get a third party opinion from someone just to say, hey man, watch this. Did you understand every word? Did you think anything was too loud? Are the sound effects driving you crazy? Is that gunshot, scaring the neighbors next door? Is your cat jumping up and running out of the room? I don't know, but just make sure that your audio is balanced and make sure your film is looking good, and watch out for those media offlines as well. We see those every once in a while. Go score a 20, and I'll see you at the festival.